At the dawn of the home computer era, I used to write professionally about PCs and the software that ran on them, and I did so on an Apple Mac. I've been around PCs and the Windows operating system since, and I mean this quite literally, the very beginning. But when it comes to buying my own hardware, I have always chosen to buy Apple products. In fact, I'm coming up on 35 years now as a veteran Apple wanker. That said, I don't consider myself a tribal brand slave, mindlessly championing a multinational company that couldn't give two shits about me. I've simply found that Apple products work better and last longer. It's as simple as that. My old iMac was and is a fabulous machine, and while I purchased it mainly for that incredible 5K Retina screen, I did come to regret not having a more portable system. 27-inch unibody computers of any brand are not best suited to public transport, setting up in a cafe, or taking on holiday with you. My three machines prior to the iMac were all Apple MacBooks, and it felt good to be going back to that laptop form factor after 4 years with a desktop. I bought my 16-inch 32GB M2 MacBook Pro a month ago, along with the Apple Studio display, and now that I've had some time to properly use it in my daily workflow, I genuinely feel like this is a photographer's dream machine. Before we dive deep into precisely why I think the M2 Max MacBook Pro is a high watermark in personal computing, let's address the elephant in the room: money. This laptop cost me just shy of 5,599 Australian dollars. However you look at it, that is a serious amount of money. I had no qualms about spending that money because I view it as an investment in my work and my photography. And anyway, comparable Windows laptops cost the same, so it's not like I got bludgeoned by the Apple tax. I've owned enough Apple products to know that they far outlast other brands and have excellent resale values even when you want to sell and upgrade. This is the 2013 MacBook Pro I had before my old iMac. It's still going strong and used on a regular basis for light lifting, web browsing, writing, email, and working as my little YouTube studio controller. I view the reduced cost of alternative brands of laptop as a forced saving because they simply do not last anywhere near as long. It's no different to a tradie buying Makita power tools, a landscaper buying Husqvarna or Stihl, or a chef buying Miyabi knives. To get close to the power and specs of the 16-inch M2 Max MacBooks, you'd be looking at something like a Dell XPS 17, which costs exactly the same and has about half the working battery life. I'm a photographer and a YouTuber, but I also have a day job because I like being able to pay the mortgage and to eat occasionally. As such, the power inside the 16-inch M2 Max MacBook will be utilised for visual and audio heavy lifting, including photo post-processing, video editing, rendering, music production and design work. I had found my old iMac with its Intel CPU was struggling with 2023 apps, and the twin demons of the spinning beach ball and the progress bar were a regular visitor to my desktop. My new MacBook has a 12-core M2 Max CPU, a 38-core GPU, 32 gigs of unified memory and 400 gigabytes a second of memory bandwidth. The most important thing, of course, is it's all Apple Silicon. Many of the applications I use most often have been upgraded to make the most of Apple Silicon, and so you get further increased performance margins. I've always thought that benchmarks were largely meaningless since so much depends on how we use our machines in the real world doing real things. That being said, the new MacBook has far exceeded the performance boost I thought I'd get in upgrading from the old Intel Silicon iMac. For instance, I've been using Topaz Gigapixel to upscale the generative images I use in my videos and on client websites. Previously, a single image upscale would take 30 seconds per image when increasing resolution from 2000 pics on the long edge to 6000 pixel, 4 times upscale. Running that same upscale on the new machine is near immediate. I can get 10 upscales done in as many seconds. Using Lightroom Classic is a revelation now. Admittedly, my work is always going to be impeded by the fact that the images in my catalogue are scattered across several old and slow mechanical hard drives, but processing is dizzyingly fast and most actions are near instantaneous. HDR blends render so quickly that I no longer have to be selective with my bracketed shots. It can merge the images so quickly that it's easier to just do it than to wonder if it's worth bothering. The bottom line is that processing photographs from a shoot is a far more streamlined process, and I can therefore spend more time taking photographs and less time managing them. I use Final Cut Pro X to edit my videos for professional work, along with my YouTube channels, and like all the other apps, it absolutely flies. On the old iMac, I had to use proxies, turn off background renders and favour performance over quality, and now I do not. Editing videos on the new machine is now a simple series of uninterrupted actions, not an endless staccato performance of pauses of varying lengths. In fact, I switched from using ProRes for the videos I shot with my Fujifilm X-T4 to H.265 because my iMac couldn't easily handle the files. The new MacBook handles those same meaty ProRes files, multiple ProRes files in fact, with no issues at all. I mentioned that one of the big attractions of the iMac is that glorious Retina display, and it's for that reason that I also purchased the Apple Studio display to go with my new machine. But it's certainly not a downgrade to use the 16-inch MacBook Pro's built-in display. It's a liquid Retina XDR display with peak brightness of 1600 nits when you're viewing HDR content. You could see that from the bloody moon. It has a beautiful contrasty display thanks to 7.7 million pixel 254 ppi screen with its massive 3456 by 2234 native resolution and adaptive 120Hz refresh rate. I've used my new laptop sitting on a picnic table in the park in full sunlight and been able to pick out every detail of the photo I was editing. You also get incredible color rendition due to P3 wide color space that expands on that more traditional sRGB color space by 25%. Having such a high quality screen makes it easier to get the most out of your photographs. Not just any hidden flaws, but just as importantly, that color rendition too. The only problem with those Apple Retina displays is that once you used one, you're ruined for life. Very few other displays come close. The aspect ratio of the built-in display is a perfect fit for apps like Lightroom because the extra screen height means you can accommodate the system dock and still have a perfect ratio for photo display. One area of hardware design where Apple had previously come in for some flack was connectivity and system ports. Their decision in prior iterations of the MacBook to dispense with the SD card slot, for instance, was seen as a huge negative for many potential purchasers. I managed to skip the MacBook generations that did without the SD cards, but it's still awesome to have it back. I could throw the MacBook in my camera bag, stick in the SD card and edit wherever I want with no compromises regarding CPU power or screen quality. It has 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, an HDMI port and MagSafe 3. I bought the Anker 555 8-in-1 USB-C hub specifically for this Mac because it has a 100-watt pass-through charging Ethernet, 2 USB-C and 2 USB-A, SD and micro SD card slots and another 4K HDMI port. When I'm in the old home office, a single USB-C cable connects the Apple Studio display and all of my external drives and other peripherals are connected to the display, making it super easy to unplug and use on the go. Laptops are, of course, for taking with you. and that means relying on battery power. In the past, I've always found laptop batteries to be a heavy compromise, and they rarely lasted anywhere near as long as the manufacturer suggested. Apple's move to their own silicon has enabled them to optimize their hardware such that, for the first time, you get a laptop that's truly capable of working all day, even when you're using power-hungry applications. I got to put this to a real-world test the day I wrote this review, because the electricity company were doing work on the grid, and we were without power in the house from 8 AM to 4 PM. I connected to my iPhone's hotspot for wireless internet, edited video content using Final Cut Pro, and then used Photoshop, Lightroom, Safari, Word, Apple Mail, and Discord, and when the power came back on, I still had 47% power left in the battery. Really great machines become almost invisible. They get out of the way and let you concentrate on outcomes and not processes. This MacBook offers less friction than any machine I've ever used. On my old iMac with its Intel Silicon, I'd often set some task going, a panoramic render in PT GUI for instance, and then go and make myself a coffee. Now I hardly have time to have a swig of coffee before the thing's finished. Everyday tasks such as importing images into Lightroom and rendering the smart previews are exponentially faster now. Photo processing software was always demanding, but over the last couple of years, we've entered a new era which places a far heavier burden on our laptops and PCs than ever before. The AI and machine learning tools within the software we use require some serious computing power. The neural filters in Photoshop, the generative fill in Photoshop Beta, the AI denoising in Lightroom, Topaz denoise and Pure Raw, the AI sharpening in Topaz Sharpen and DxO Photolab, the enlarging in Topaz Gigapixel or Pixelmator or Photoshop, all run quickly and efficiently. So, as you've probably worked out by now, I am more than happy with my purchase. I missed out on all the original iterations of the Apple Silicon releases and have been anticipating making the move ever since I saw the first reviews by people like MKBHD. I don't take having this much computing power at my disposal lightly. In recent years, the software we all use has tended to exceed the capabilities of the hardware, which means a lot of time watching a progress bar move slowly across a screen. I find it pretty incredible that I can have a machine this capable in a highly portable laptop form factor. Comparable Windows machines are no cheaper than this MacBook, and none come close in terms of usable battery life. When I buy new hardware, I like to future-proof myself as much as possible, which is why I went for the top-of-the-range MacBook Pro. Based on my previous experience with Apple hardware, I fully expect to get many years of excellent service out of this machine. It's been an absolute joy using my new Mac to process my images and to use in my day-to-day work. It won't make me a better photographer, but it will certainly make me a less frustrated one. And that will do us for this little review. Are you an Apple fan, or do you prefer Windows PCs and laptops? Personally speaking, I cannot be bothered with that Windows Apple tribalism, and if you're a happy Windows user, then I wish you well. Let me know what you're currently processing your images with in the comments section below. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing for more photography, video and drone related content from yours truly. Till the next time guys, ta-ta.